Hey Google, play some music.
Hey there, listeners. Welcome back to the Google Stadia Show. My name is Donnie Reese. If you've forgotten, it's been a minute since we recorded an episode of the Google Stadia Show. It's been since E3, when we recorded our reactions to the Stadia Connect that happened the week before. Unfortunately, we haven't been able to marry up schedules of late. I went on vacation. For those of you that may not listen to our other shows on the PSVG Podcast Network, I took a couple weeks off and left and moved those, and we had plans to pair back up when I got back together, and that didn't work out last weekend, and unfortunately I'm here alone on this episode. It's just me. This is my first episode recording solo. A lot of our friends in the podcast community have done this very well. Jason Lacey at Fluxtapose, Sean Capri. I've heard solo shows a bunch, and I'm always amazed at how they do. So this is my first foray into the effort. Hopefully I do well by you guys. I want to say thanks for sticking with us. Hopefully you haven't given up on us. Like I said, we want to be a monthly show. That was always the case. We've always told ourselves that if we really like Google Stadia and it really takes off, that maybe after launch, maybe we go bi-weekly or weekly. But right now, I think the idea was always to be a monthly show, and we still are a monthly show. We did an episode in June, and this episode is dropping right now in July. But, monthly, we really want to be there for you, every 25, 30 days. And right now we're like on day 50. And like I said, I apologize. I'll take the brunt of that. It's been vacation and just a lot of busyness on my end. And then Jared and Dev have been trying to, coordinate around my schedule. But unfortunately, Jared has fallen ill, so we hope you get better, buddy. And Dev's computer blew up on him this morning. We sat there for about an hour trying to get it all together. It's just not a go. So I had two options. I could record the show myself and do a solo show, or I could postpone it, maybe wait for another member of the PSVG podcast team to jump in here with me. You guys have waited long enough. So I just wanted to go ahead and let you know the landscape, where we are, and just jump into it. And like I said, hopefully you like it, and hopefully I'm still enjoying it, still very excited. So today's episode 5, was titled the Google AMA. So Google had an Ask Us Anything over on Reddit last week when I was on vacation. And we've got some news, some updates that they've dropped that I'm going to read to you. But before I did that, I want to follow up on E3. So like I said, our last episode, we recorded right after the Stadia Connect, right after it. All of our impressions from the Stadia Connect. And if you guys remember last episode, I was, still a little down, a little pessimistic, not completely sold on the Google Stadia showing. They had games, and we learned about the service and that, and there's still a lot of confusion, which I'm going to address some of that now. But I just didn't really think they brought the news. They didn't bring any excitement. They didn't provide any exclusives. We didn't see any big, savings. We just kind of saw their pitch, their business, plan. That changed a few days later. And that in itself is an interesting thing to think about, because the service still hasn't launched, so they still have all the time in the world to communicate. And by the sounds of this Ask Us Anything that they did, it sounds like they still have a lot more to say. But one giant announcement that we got during E3 that was not included in the Stadia Connect was the fact that Stadia will be an exclusive partner, at least in the console space, if we're still counting Stadia as a console competitor, for Uplay Plus, Ubisoft's new streaming service. Ubisoft announced a streaming service. It's $14.99 a month, and you'll have access to all of Ubisoft's library and day-and-date games. They even said, they went as far as saying, when games launch, Gods and Monsters come out, when Watch Dogs come out, that'll hit the service, and you can subscribe and play that game for $14.99 a month. This is a big deal, because this provides Stadia with a subscription that's more, I think, in line with the Netflix for gaming, if you will, this type of Game Pass, subscription, and honestly, just content. This provides Stadia with a big amount of content. So if anybody's interested in trying Stadia, I have to imagine you're at least considering doing this. Now, the service itself is an interesting one, because Phil Harrison did point out that you won't be able to subscribe to any partners subscription services unless you are a Stadia Pro member. If you're thinking of like, I'm just going to use the base plan for free and buy some games and then maybe subscribe to Ubisoft, that's not how it's going to work. If you want to have the Uplay Plus subscription, you have to have the Stadia Pro subscription as well. So it really brings the price to $25 a month. That's $300 a year, which it's interesting because you've got Game Pass, which is $9.99 a month. You've got EA Access, which is $30 a year. Uplay Plus is way more than both of those. But I do think there's an argument there to warrant the added price, the increase in price, because you think about the library that they have, especially day and date. We're talking Far Cry, The Division, Assassin's Creed, Trials, Rainbow Six Siege, Watch Dogs, Trials Rising. They've got tons and tons and tons of games. Their back catalog, I imagine like the South Park games will be in there. Anything Splinter Cell will be in there. Rayman will be in there. Maybe they throw in Starlink. I forgot about that. All the Assassin's Creed games, from the past, like they should all be there. Now, we don't know how many of them will be available for Stadia or whatnot, and I guess one of the downsides to this is, Uplay Plus launches in September. We won't have access to it via Stadia until 2020, so next year. We don't know when that is. I hope and I assume it'll be there by Watch Dogs, or at least that should be the goal, because that's their next big marquee title release. I definitely want it there for Gods and Monsters, but getting back to the Stadia aspect of things, $25 a month for an entire year seems like a lot. I think even for, this entire library, unless you're just like, let's say maybe like a really, really big Ubisoft fan. So like Devin, if he was on the show, I think he'd argue this point with me. He loves Ubisoft and almost everything they do. So he's going to be there for sure. He'll be there on PC before Stadia. He's got to be very excited. And I'm excited for this too. I'm interested as to why they waited on this and why Ubisoft didn't just show up at the Stadia Connect. I feel like this was important information to get out in your initial announcement, to get people excited for your service. I just feel like it was a missed opportunity because a lot of people probably gave Stadia a shot during that Connect and they probably came away going, I'm never going to do this, and maybe they didn't watch the Ubisoft show. I think that's a possibility, but like I said, we've got months before this thing launches, and really we've got months before it launches at all, because I keep saying it, even though I know the Stadia Founders Edition is coming this fall. Stadia really doesn't launch until that base plan comes out and everybody can partake. So it's still not really launching until like 2020, in my opinion. At least that's how I'm viewing it. But Uplay Plus is very, very exciting. I think even if you don't subscribe to it, indefinitely for a year, I definitely think there's a really good, strong financial sense to maybe try out Stadia for a month with Uplay Plus. Maybe you're not sold on it, but for $25, you throw $25 at it for 1 month. Maybe you wait for Watch Dogs instead of paying $60 for Watch Dogs. Maybe you give them $25 and you see if you play it for a month. See if it works for you. See if it works in your home. See if it works, with you on the go. If you want to play mobile portably, I don't even really know how to say it. If you want to play from work, which is how I want to play it, but yeah, if you want to play from other locations, test it out in a bunch of different locations, and if it doesn't work, you're only on $25, and if it does work, you played Watch Dogs 3 for $25. That makes a lot of sense. So I think there's some good value there. I think it's kind of more in line with what people are looking for, and it's definitely something to be excited about, and I hope it comes sooner rather than later. I hope we're not looking at next E3 before Uplay Plus comes, and I do think it's very exciting and intriguing. I'm almost fascinated to know how Stadia has this. Basically, it seems as an exclusive. So Uplay Plus will launch on PC in September, and then it comes to Stadia, and there is no mentions for Uplay Plus to come to PlayStation or Xbox, and that seems really fascinating considering how much business Ubisoft does on console with these other console hardware makers. The fact that they're not going to be there at all, and you've got to think with PlayStation, Xbox, this, they have 100 million customers potentially that could, do Uplay Plus. So they're really, when they announced a partnership with Google, they weren't lying. They seem to be a partner with Google on this rollout, and that's good. As I said on our Discord when we watched the Ubisoft show, that is like the exclusive. That's the thing to get excited about. That's the content that I thought was lacking in the Stadia Connect. And had that been there, I think I would have been way more positive on our last show because I just think of all the things that they said, I think this is the most exciting part, to be quite honest with you. Like, this is the most exciting thing as a consumer. Like, in terms of how excited am I to spend my money, I'm most excited to spend my money on Uplay Plus with Stadia. Especially, like, I think next March. So we've got Watch Dogs 3, which is Watch Dogs Legion, and we have Gods and Monsters, and they release like 2 weeks apart if the dates hold right now. I think one releases right at the end of February, and the other one releases, like March 12th. So if you get, Stadia Pro and Uplay Plus for the month of March, you'll have access to play both of those games. And if you do it and you cancel that month, let's say you're working on the Stadia base, but that month you throw the 25. I mean, you've saved 70% of that money. I think Ubisoft has to provide a lot more value to for many people to justify having that subscription year round. But it's close. It's close. Ubisoft is one of the best game developers in the world. And at their price, $15 a month for a year. So that's, roughly $180. So that's 3 games a year. So if you do Assassin's Creed and you do Far Cry and you pick one more, then that's the price of the package, and you're getting 100 other games, Ubisoft games to play in addition to that. So very exciting, very, very exciting. I wanted to touch base on that and provide an update for anybody that may have missed it, and if anybody just wanted to hear my thoughts on it, those are my thoughts. I'm very, very excited to see Uplay Plus on Stadia, and Phil Harrison said that there are other publishers, to announce, and I definitely think after the Ask Us Anything, I definitely think that we should see a Stadia Connect before launch. I imagine before the Founders Editions go out, and we should have more information on new games, maybe exclusive games, and maybe other partners. Bethesda, Square Enix, a lot of rumors out there. Maybe EA Access comes to Stadia. Maybe Stadia has some sort of, I don't know. I don't think it'd be like another tier like the Pro, but maybe they do some sort of discount if you start bundling more than one together. It really starts to sound very similar to like a cable package. You imagine, so like you subscribe to Hulu, but then you can also subscribe to HBO and Cinemax and like a sports upgrade and all that. You can kind of pick your different packages. That kind of feels like maybe the best analogy for Stadia so far is you subscribe to Stadia Pro, which nets you a game a month, which we'll talk about. They did clarify that. And then from there, you can grab different bundles and mix and match, and month to month go from different games to different games. So, I like it. I like it a lot. Okay, so let's jump over into this Ask Us Anything that they did over on Reddit, because we got some news. Now, it's not... For anybody that's been listening to this show, and definitely for us that have been following this news and are excited for Stadia, I really wouldn't call it news. It's not like new what we heard, but they did do They did provide some clarification, because there seems to be a lot of confusion amongst, the internet. There's still websites and blogs and other podcasts that still keep thinking it's Netflix for games and it's Game Pass, and, nobody really seems to understand the business model. So let's just be real clear here. They did provide clarity that Stadia Pro is not Netflix. It's more like Xbox Live or PlayStation Plus. You'll get a free game a month. But here's the quote, though, and I don't like this at all. I don't know why this is here. They said, you get a free game a month, quote, give or take. I don't know what that means. and I definitely don't like it being that open-ended. If you're making people pay for a subscription, you need to tell them what they're getting for their subscription, at least the expectation. And the expectation can't be, you'll get a game, or you'll get a game a month, maybe. That's not good enough. We need to have clarity. Like you get a game a month every 30 days, or you get 12 in a year, or maybe it'll be more than 12, but you'll get at least one minimum. At minimum, you'll get a game a month. Maybe some months it'll be 2. But people need to know. And the reason that they need to know is because they don't know what the games are. So if you're not going to tell us what the games are, then you have to at least tell us how many. Otherwise, I think you're hard pressed asking people to sign up for. And I think a lot of the confusion with this idea that Stadia is just Netflix for games and all, I think a lot of it is this type of messaging. The fact that they have Stadia base, but it's not available until 2020. The fact they have Stadia Pro, but you have to sign up for a Founders Pack. The fact that Stadia Pro will give you a game a month, give or take. Like, everything is still very open-ended, and they've they've got to. I know they haven't launched yet. I know it's still early. I mean, we've talked about it on the last episode. It seems like they're launching this kind of in beta, like like it's a soft launch. It's not really a launch. It's kind of like a test pilot before they actually launch. But they've got to stop doing this. They've got to nail down their messaging and make it more simple. That's why we're seeing so many people that are confused and not really get the idea or have the details, because everything seems fluid. And I know both myself and Jared, like, we both are sitting in our Discord, we're like, why are people so confused about this? But if you kind of look at the messaging and how everything kind of comes with a caveat. Everything seems to have some fine print with it. And that's why people are confused. People are confused because it's not simple. There's 2 or 3 different facets and 2 or 3 different dates and 2 or 3 different, like, they got to stop that. We need to know. I expect you'll get a game a month. That's the expectation. But they just need to say that. They need to stop with this give or take, these extra things. Just stop. Just say a game a month, and if you get 2 games a month, then surprise, you got a bonus. But they need to nail down this messaging and make it very, very clear. They also said, also with the Pro subscription, you get discounts. I think closer to launch, they don't have to do this now, but closer to launch, we need to know what those discounts are. We need to know the type of discount where we should expect. Is it a pre-order discount, like maybe 10% on all new game purchases or pre-orders, or could they do something like that? Is it just an ad hoc, like we'll just run sales whenever we want to? Can we expect sales at a certain time? And how much, like what can we expect in terms of sales? I think it's very important as we get closer to launch, or maybe even after the Founders Pack goes, maybe they provide an update. I think a pre-order bonus, some sort of savings plan with Stadia makes a lot of sense, because you're streaming and not owning the actual code, right? You're not installing the game locally. So I think having some sort of access, giving somebody just a little added benefit, 10% or something like that, a little added benefit. Maybe it's a coupon a month, 20% off 1 game a month or something for Stadia Pro members. I don't know. But something like this, I've been saying this for a long time. You've got to give people a reason to give streaming a chance, right? And it can't be because you want the PC stack. People don't think about those types of things. When the majority of customers, when it comes to video games, they're worried about one thing. Can I play the game? Does it look really pretty? And how much money does it cost? And that last one is usually the biggest one. So I think some sort of savings option, I'd like to hear more. And it just gives people more incentive to subscribe to the Pro, right? And I know all the founders will all have Pro for the first 3 months. So like I said, that initial little beta period that we're going through, it's not necessarily as important in that time. But once it starts to roll out and the base becomes a plan and you actually launch this product, I actually think it just can't be, like Nintendo does that with Nintendo Switch Online. They have like savings and things. We still don't know what that is, right? And that's a huge problem. And I think it's more of a problem for a streaming service than an actual traditional marketplace, if you will. This Xbox Live, PlayStation Plus thing, I mean, that's exactly what it is, and that's exactly how it's going to work. So it's not going to be like this library that you gain access to and you can play anything. If you're a Pro member, the free game that comes out that month will be added to your library. So just like PlayStation Plus or Xbox Live, you'll have ownership key to that game as long as you subscribe. Now, if you stop subscribing, you'll lose access to that. But if you keep subscribing, it'll keep growing, and eventually you'll just have, this library of games that you can play from anywhere. I think that's the goal, and that's a good goal. I've often thought, like, I rent a lot of movies and buy a lot of movies digitally through Google, and a big part of that was the fact that they started giving some away for free. Like when they first launched Google Play, for like the first year, you could get a free movie almost every month. So all of a sudden, I'd log into Google Play a year or two later, and I have 20, 30 movies there. I have like this little library of stuff, and I'd be like, well, I guess I'll just keep buying stuff here. I think that's the type of thing that this could do month over month, especially. I think this might be asking for too much here, but one thing that I was thinking, especially if Google provides really good content. Like we know as the Founders members, we're getting Destiny 2, and I don't think we'll always get Destiny 2, but let's say that their games are actual, like, I don't want to demean, like the indie games or anything like that, but let's say like they're games of value, games of merit. Let's say if they throw in Assassin's Creed and they throw in a Far Cry and they actually start throwing in some of these bigger games, NBA Live and things like that. If it's not just indie games, what I think the traditional, gamer has been conditioned to with Xbox Live and PlayStation Plus, if you can get a little bit more than that. Provide something of substance. And every month you have a game of substance. Now all of a sudden you start really starting to make your case like, hey, yeah, Stadia Pro, we're not on Netflix for games, but look, if you subscribe to us the last 6 months, look at these 6 games you have in your library. Look how much money you would have saved. You can play it from you start to get the snowball rolling, you start to build a case for yourself. And I think that would be very, very exciting. So yeah, that was a big part of the AMA. They talked about how the Pro is different from the base and all that. They also talked about their controller a little bit. In particular, they mentioned that their controller could eventually maybe possibly support Bluetooth. So it has an audio jack in the controller now. So you'll be able to play with your headphones if you want to plug in. But you could use Bluetooth headphones if you say you're playing on your Pixel 3, your phone, or your PC. But it could possibly come to just the Chromecast, general Stadia environment down the road. And Jared, who wrote up some beautiful notes for us, thanks Jared, feel better, buddy. He even mentioned that they confirmed the Xbox Adaptive Controller is supported on Stadia, and that's really cool. And they mentioned a lot of things like this, right? Like they continue to mention that they're all for crossplay, and they're all they want to partner and they want to be open and they want to do that, and that's good messaging. Whether the other hardware manufacturers will ever partner up with them and provide that opportunity, we don't know, but it's good messaging for them to keep doing that anyway. That's what gamers want to hear. We want to hear cross save, cross play. We want to hear all that stuff. They mentioned that the UI is supposed to be really good. They said they can't show it yet. It's still being worked on, but I imagine that'll be one thing that we'll see coming soon. I don't know if they'll do that in Stadia Connect, or maybe they'll have like a YouTube video that just kind of gives everybody a walkthrough or something. But Jared put in here that the UI is supposed to be beautiful. Now, Google does have really good track record with that type of stuff, so I'd imagine it's going to be really nice. Still very eager and intrigued and excited to hear this integration with YouTube that they've not talked about yet. Like we saw it in their pitch. We saw the YouTube sharing, the links in YouTube, like the Google Drive-like way to share your instance of a game and bring people in. I want to hear more about that. Closer we get to launch, and that seems to have really been on the back burner, the more and more I'm starting to wonder if it's not going to be there at launch. Because again, going back to my thing, it's not too much of this seems like it's going to be ready at launch. Like the base isn't ready at launch. A lot of the support's not ready at launch. The games, the Uplay Plus isn't available at launch. Like a lot of these things will be coming, down the road. They did mention that they will have system level chat with friends list and parties. They mentioned that achievements are being worked on, that they'll be there, but they did confirm, of course we're going to have achievements. So that's good. I know a lot of people really like that. One really interesting thing, or two interesting things. They did two interesting things, probably more of note than others. They announced that they're going to have some sort of family sharing of game libraries, something or another. Now, the only other thing that I think Google does with this is they have, Google Play family supported plans where, you can have unlimited music for $14.99 a month instead of $10 and that type of stuff. It'd be very interesting to see how this works. And it'd be very interesting to see if you can maybe share the cost with 2 or 3 friends. If you guys can pair up and become a family, and let's say, Stadia Pro is $10 a month, but let's say, it becomes $15 a month, but if you could split it 2 or 3 ways, all of a sudden, that maybe changes things a bit. We do that with Nintendo Switch Online, I game share with Kevin. That type of stuff could really open the doors for more and more people giving it a chance, I think, especially even amongst your actual family. You could set it up, go a family plan and give somebody a month and let them try it out, and let your friends and cousins and uncles and aunts and everybody else try it out on your family plan. That's interesting. It's very, very interesting. I want to know more about that. They also got asked a specific question about Steam. So the PC, game platform. Well, does there be some sort of Steam partnership with Stadia? And they got it's just a really interesting response. And I'm just gonna read it here. Quote, "Great question. My PR guy will kill me. ... We're always evaluating our options to make Stadia a better place for gamers. Smiley face." I don't know if you should overread into this. It seems like that answer is going to, tempt. It's going to solicit a lot of people to read into that. It could be big. GeForce does this. If you guys don't know, so NVIDIA has a streaming program. They have GeForce, but they do this. You can stream your Steam games using GeForce, which is, that's awesome. Steam has great sales. People already have libraries. I mean, I think that's what they're saying here, that maybe there's going to be some sort of Steam partnership, but I mean, does that come at like another subscription cost? Is that one of the things that they would announce would it be for, I'd have to imagine it'd be for Stadia Pro members only, because, Google's just not gonna let you stream Steam games for free. Like, you've got to buy a game from them or subscribe, I think. So I would imagine it would be Stadia Pro members only if that was what they were doing. And then at the same time, you have to think Steam maybe wants some sort of, they don't want people to leave, their platform, just to stream games over there. But it's interesting because Steam has the Steam Link, which I don't think took off. So maybe there is like some room here for both of them to kind of partner up, maybe expand Stadia's library, give them some, a built-in customer base, and maybe kind of make Steam's away from your PC experience better, because with Stadia, you're subscribing. What you're getting access to is the server stack. You're getting access to their infrastructure, their data center, and so I mean, I think this makes sense on paper, like in theory, and as a concept, it makes sense, and it could be something. Maybe that's what they have, left to say. I still think like I said, we're gonna get another Stadia Connect before the Founders Edition arrive, and I think there's still a lot to be learned about this service. And speaking of that Stadia Connect, they did talk about future Stadia Connects. They announced that it's sooner than we think it is. In terms of the Founders Editions, they said that the username reservations will be released in the order that the pre-orders were received, so I guess they'll just go down the list and start doing it. And that other Chromecasts will be supported in the future, but for right now, it's still only the Chromecast Ultra. So that basically runs down the news, which I think this was great. I think this was great for them to do it. I think Reddit was the appropriate place to answer some of these more technical questions. And I think the blog coverages and everybody, I think, the wrap up, like the news cycle started to reverberate this for those that wanted it. It wasn't mainstream news that everybody's going to know, but the folks that I think are interested, that want to know some of these details, headsets, Bluetooth, that type of stuff, I think they got the information that they wanted. And yeah, I'm if you can't tell, I'm much more positive on Stadia today than I was this time last month, before the Uplay Plus announcement. I think with that, coupled with some more details and some clarity on the game library and how this is all going to work, starts to make a little bit more sense, and I'm very much looking forward to it. And I can't wait until we see the next Stadia Connect and we get more information, hopefully more games. I want to hear more from this Guilt game, from Tequila. I'm not excited for it because I'm not really excited for the developer, but I like conceptually when they make games and they show games, like they do something for me. So I'm hoping we'll see more information like that. Maybe they've, brought on another indie game or 3 or something like that. And then hopefully the next Stadia Connect, they announce, the founders, they show the UI and maybe provide some details on 2020. I doubt it. I'd imagine that we won't get the 2020 details until 2020. I think that's why everything is just kind of 2020. That's why they're not really committing to a month or anything like that in 2020. So they're going to launch the founders. We're going to figure it out and we'll go from there. Well, that's going to do it. I really don't have any questions answered. I can't talk to anybody else, just me. So that's the news wrap up and kind of my thoughts on Uplay Plus. Maybe we'll get back together sooner, since that I just did this as a solo show. Maybe once Jared gets better, maybe we'll just pair up to 2, or if Devin gets a new computer, hopefully we'll be back some quicker, definitely than a month, faster than 30 days. Let's turn around something and have another episode for you guys. So thanks for sticking with us, and we will see you next time on the Google Stadia Show.